Hey y'all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Autobots who should never ever be leader. These are the top 10 Autobots that, you know what, they do not have the qualities at all to be an effective leader. That's our focus as voted on by fans this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. So fans voted on Autobots that should never ever lead. My intention with the question was for Autobots who had never been leader and never should be leader, but there were some votes for some Autobots who had been or have been leader. I allowed it, but it's with a little bit of a caveat that, you know what, they're not exactly what I intended because they've already been leader. Whether they're effective or not is irrelevant. They've already officially in fiction been leader. So I did allow it, but keep that in mind as we go through that the original intent really was mainly for ones that had never led and never should. So with that sort of caveat in mind, we have 4 honorable mentions. They had the exact same number of votes. They did not make the list. The first is Animated Sentinel Prime. Now, of course, there are iterations of Sentinel Prime where he has led the Autobots, and there are iterations of him where he was probably at some point going to lead the Autobots. Depends on the fiction you follow. Animated Sentinel Prime, though, I think we all know, he had so much arrogance about him. He had so much dislikability about him that there was no way he was going to inspire others to follow him as a leader. Also, First Aid, again, First Aid, a doctor, right? Which is fine, but far too much of a pacifist. Whirl, little too out to lunch, shall we say. And Punch, Counterpunch. And people said, that guy can't even decide what side he's really on. So those were the honorable mentions. Animated Sentinel Prime, First Aid, Whirl, and Punch Counterpunch. They did not make the list. So who did? You know what we're going to do? We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. An effective leader is somebody who can inspire others with their words. Somebody who is an example with their actions. Somebody who can take criticism on the chin gracefully. And somebody who is self-assured, confident, and can really rally the troops. Well, this guy doesn't do any of that because at number 10 we have Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper, if anything, is a bit of a hothead. He's kind of guns blazing first, which, you know what, is great for kind of a rah-rah cheerleader type. But when it comes to being a wise, sage leader, Cliff Jumper just doesn't have what it takes. Great soldier, great combatant, but not the best leader, and he takes the number 10 slot. Now at number 9, we can say that a leader should be somebody who is brave and courageous. Unlike Huffer. Huffer kind of got what he got in terms of the votes because people said, look, he complains, he is fearful, he is pessimistic, but the line that really kind of done him in is the one where he says, we're not fighters like you, Prime. He actually says, you know what? Not all of us are fighters, Prime. Not all of, and that's true. While that's true, and there's different roles for everybody, a leader, especially one that's in a war, even if it's a fictitious one, needs to be able to rally those troops to go out and kind of fight for the cause, right? Huffer's not going to do that. If anything, Huffer's going to sit back and complain and not want to do any of it. And for that reason, he would be an ineffective leader and had enough votes to take the number 9 slot. At number 8, we could say that a leader shows great loyalty, unlike IDW Getaway. The guy is the ultimate traitor, I think one could say. I didn't know anything about this. A bunch of people have filled me in and said that he basically turned on the entire Lost Light crew. He kind of went on a murderous spree, even feeding victims to the cannibalistic Sunder. and I don't get IDW. They're so dark. There's so much I just don't like. I struggle to find anything about it to like. That's the thing. But nevertheless, this guy done it all in the name of wanting to be a prime. You want to talk about power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Or in this case, absolute desire for power corrupts absolutely. Get away. Traitorous, murderous, anything but a loyal leader. And he takes the number 8 slot. At number 7, we have a character that didn't lead, but a version of this character led, because number 7 is Hot Rod. Actually, it's Hot Rod / Rodimus. The Hot Rod ranks here because I counted just the Hot Rod votes for the ranking purposes. Had I combined the Hot Rod and Rodimus votes, he would have ranked much higher on the list. Probably up around number 2, number 3. And I can't argue with it. I don't like the character of Hot Rod. I never related to him. I thought he was impetuous. I thought he was short-sighted. I thought he was irresponsible, as did the people who voted for him. When it comes to actually being a leader and being Rodimus Prime, they said, how can we call this guy a good leader? I know that he has his fans, but how? How? Was he a good leader when he... Okay, so this is going to be part that's debated. A lot of people say, of course, he's responsible for Optimus's demise. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. The voters that voted for him said he was responsible for his predecessor's demise. That's one strike against him. He tried to give up leadership and give the Matrix back just because he didn't want to be leader. He didn't have any confidence in himself. He didn't inspire anybody. And he gave leadership back to a zombie. Or maybe he was an effective leader when he all but laughed at and made fun of Sandstorm as Sandstorm watched really the end of his home world, right? The destruction of his planet. Maybe he was an effective leader when he allowed Cybertron to blow up and then said, hey, I'm going to go find us a new home world, and just never, ever appeared again. Just disappeared, just ran away. I get it. Those were all reasons that the voters pointed out. If you don't agree with them, that's fine. I mean, all of that stuff happened in fiction, on screen. I don't know what to tell you. I agree with the voters. Yeah, Hot Rod / Rodimus never, ever, ever should have been leader. And honestly, I think he fits right in at the number 7 slot. Coming in at number 6, we have Ultra Magnus. You see, a leader also needs to be confident, and that's not really Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus will say, I'm just a follower, I'm just a soldier. He tends to get overwhelmed. This is what voters said, right? He tends to get overwhelmed. For example, when he does have the Matrix and he is leader, one of his most famous lines is, I can't deal with that right now because it's too much pressure, it's too much happening. A lot of people said, look, he's a great right-hand man. He's a great second-in-command. He's a great, first officer. But to be captain of the ship, to steer the course, nah, he's not the guy to do it. Shockingly, I thought that he was. I would have put this guy as like the most logical leader to follow Optimus Prime, right? The most logical successor to Optimus Prime. But the fans are the fans. And they said, you know what? He just doesn't have it. He gets overwhelmed too easily. He's a follower. He's very clear that he's a follower. He's just another soldier. And he takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we have reached the ever-coveted, ever-popular halfway mark. And can you guess who we have at the halfway mark today? Yes, indeed it is Blur. That's right, it's Blur. Blur got put here for a number of reasons. One, they said he is too rash and acts too fast without thinking things through. Secondly, they said too many Autobots would struggle to follow his orders because some of them wouldn't even be sure exactly what he's saying because his speech pattern is so rapid. I kind of get both of that. He's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he might be one of the bravest, but perhaps that's just him being a little bit foolhardy more than it is him being brave. Blur doesn't exactly instill a lot of confidence either because he is so kind of all over the map and very blah in your face. A lot say, look, his ideas change, his opinions change, his strategies change on the fly so much that it would make him a very difficult guy to follow as a leader, be it into battle or be it into diplomacy. And for those reasons, Blur takes the number 5 slot. And for anyone who has been around the channel for some 200 plus countdowns, you will know, especially if you were here in the earlier days, you will know that it is not uncommon for a specific character to show up at number 4. Leadership often requires one to be wise, to make sage decisions, and you're not going to get that with number 4, because number 4 is somebody who proved that really he's not a very good leader, at least as per the Marvel Comics. It's Grimlock! That's right, at number 4 it's Grimlock. We had a series of countdowns years ago where Grimlock kept becoming number 4, and it kind of caught on and became a thing for a little while, that number 4 was almost by default Grimlock. It's been a long time since he's been here, but it kind of feels like a pair of comfortable shoes. Yeah, Grimlock is too angry. He's too aggressive. He's not wise. He's not calm. He's not sage. He's not going to give you the best advice. Yeah, sure, he'll be great to lumber into battle with, but what are you going to do with this guy come peacetime? What are you going to do with this guy when the power goes to his head? You don't think the power will go to his head? Remember when he stopped Toradron by flicking the switch and everything went in reverse and Grimlock was the hero? And how arrogant he got? Here's the thing about Grimlock. Not only is he lumbering, not only does he usually lack intellect, but when he does do things right, he's the first to hog all the glory. Imagine how much glory he would hog as a leader. Rather than inspiring his followers, he would probably simply show them that, hey, I'm the best, and I always was. Way better than you guys. That doesn't exactly sound like effective leadership, and for that reason, Grimlock takes the number 4 slot. At the darkest of times, a leader is going to say and do things that will inspire you, that will give you hope. But you're not going to get that with number 3, because number 3 is Gears. Look, Gears has a good spark. Gears is a good little worker. But Gears is one grumpy Gus. He's not going to inspire followers. He's not going to have you kind of want to, look. In, I think, the last night, Crosshairs listens to a speech by Optimus and he says the line, oh, you just want to die for the guy. Because Optimus inspires that sort of loyalty and following him, that sort of loyalty to follow him into battle. Gears doesn't. All Gears does is grumble and complain about everything and everyone. Not going to be effective as a leader. Again, maybe great in terms of doing a task, may even be great on the battlefield. But to be the one that's going to lead in those scenarios, it's just not going to fall to the grumpy Gus that we all know and love. Gears takes the number 3 slot. Number 2 is Bumblebee. Again, Bumblebee has led some groups. He did it in RID 2015. He's had a leadership role really at the very kind of end of Transformers Prime and Predacons Rising. I won't say he's a leader there, he's not, but he has sort of more of a leadership, more of a forefront type of role. There are times where Bumblebee has been leader, and there are versions of Bumblebee that would probably be better suited to it than others. The G1, he is forever a scout. He doesn't have it. I mean, he's too youthful, he's too jolly, and while that's great for morale, it's not exactly what you need for an effective leader. How is it that you're going to elicit that respect via loyalty, you know? Some people that voted specifically said the Transformers animated version, because he's too comedic, he's too trying to make a joke and be sarcastic and a smart aleck. That's not what a leader needs to be. Again, people that voted for him said, he's a scout. He'll forever be a scout. Yeah, there are times when Bumblebee has led, but at the end of the day, the dude is really just a great scout. And he does that well. Maybe he should stick to his own lane. Bumblebee takes the number 2 slot. And here we are at the very tippy top, number 1. And number 1 won by a landslide. In fact, Starscream Wife even voted for this one. In fact, she was the last vote I counted for Wheelie. Yeah, ugh, as an Autobot leader. I mean, too small, too weak, too annoying. The rhyming, the puny little slingshot. No blaster, no sword, no matrix. Although Input did say that Wheelie Prime would be amazing, and maybe he's right. Maybe Wheelie Prime would be, but I can't imagine any scenario where Wheelie is the bravest, where Wheelie is the most capable, where Wheelie is the wisest and making the best decisions and the most sage. Wheelie, yeah, would make a terrible Autobot leader. Bad enough that he took, by far, the number 1 slot. Oh, we've gone from 10 down to 1 once again, so who else had votes that did not appear on the list? Autobot Spike, Revenge of the Fallen Skids, Squeaks from the last night, Sunder, we talked about the cannibalistic Sunder before, IDW Metal Hawk, Slingshot of the aerial bots, Megatron. Although some would say Megatron would be a good leader. The people that voted for him said, he's a former Decepticon and he led the Decepticons. I don't know if I fully trust the guy. Grapple because of his arrogance. Pipes because he's more of a medic. RC because she's just too unpredictable. Wreck-Gar because, really? Enough said. Animated Wreck-Gar. Who else? Prime Smokescreen. Although he was almost leader at one point. Repugnus, Animated Waspinator, Alpha Trion, Sideswipe, Silverbolt, Sunstreaker. Who else had some votes here? Roller. I thought that was an interesting one. Optimus Prime had votes. I can't imagine Optimus not being... I can't imagine why Optimus got votes, but he did. Red Alert because he might short circuit. Computron because he would take too long to make decisions. Warpath, too much bam, pow, kazowie, right? Trax, Swerve, Roadbuster, Prowl because he's going to flip tables. Double Dealer because you can't trust him. Beachcomber because he's a hippie. Omega Supreme, Bulkhead. Orion Pax, Cerebros, Fort Max, even though they did lead. Mirage, Brawn, Tailgate, Wheeljack, Prime Wheeljack, Slug or Slag, whatever name you prefer. And this guy shouldn't even be a character. Kicker. Absolutely. Kicker should lead nothing. Absolutely nothing. He shouldn't even be able to I don't like Kicker. Anyway, let me know if your favorites made the list or not. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Have some fun with us here on the channel. And please, please, please know that somehow, some way, you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.